I'm not going to lie to you. So the Olivet Discourse has been giving me a lot of anxiety. Part one, I feel like I have not been able to study this for long enough or understand what is happening with this quite a bit. And so in light of that, I feel kind of unprepared, and like all my notes that I have written here are just notes. And so I wouldn't blame you if you skipped this video. To be quite frank, it might save me some embarrassment, because I'm really just, like I said, overwhelmed. The subject of eschatology is one that's difficult for me to wrap my head around. It's very hard to take Revelation, what Paul says about the end times, what Peter, Jude say about the end times, what Jesus says about the end times. It's hard to dig into that. It's so crazy. But what I do think is this next section is kind of cool, because Jesus tells us a few things that help us prepare for it. One of the things that he really talks about is that no one knows the day and the hour. And so he talks about how it's this certain surprise that's going to happen. And it's kind of difficult for us to wrap our head around both those concepts together sometimes, but that's that. So anyways, Jesus has just been talking about the end times, the last days, what it's going to look like, some signs, wonders, how people are going to know what it is even. And then he jumps in from there. So from the fig tree, learn its lesson. As soon as we're in verse 32. As soon as its branch becomes tender and puts out its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also when you see all these things, you know that he is near at the very gates. Truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. So again, that's a very difficult verse, because what all these things take place, what is he talking about? And I think that's a big reason that a lot of people lean towards the temple destruction in 70 AD as being part of that, right? This idea that the temple destruction is happening in 70 AD and is part of that whole deal, right? So truly I say this to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. What generation? Till what things take place? Very confusing. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Again, that is a riddle if I've ever heard one. No one knows that day and hour, but concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but the Father only. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For in those days before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark. And they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away. So will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and one left. 2 women will be grinding at the mill, one will be taken and one left. Therefore, stay awake, for you do not know on that day your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect. Who then is the faithful and wise servant, whom his master has set over his household to give them food at the proper time? Blessed is that servant whom his master will find doing so when he comes. Truly I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions. But if that wicked servant says to himself, my master is delayed, begins to beat his fellow servants, and eats and drinks with drunkards, the master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and put him with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So, again, that wraps up chapter 24, so I'm going to stop there. But again, this idea of Jesus coming, second coming, is unknown. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know what it's going to be like. No one knows, not angels, not the Son, only the Father, right? 2 men will be in the field, one will remain. So that's what people, when they're talking about the rapture, that's what they're talking about, that this event where the whole world over, people are gone, right? Funny story, somebody I know when they were a child, they were deathly afraid of the rapture. They would constantly look out of their bedroom to make sure that their mom was still there, because they were certain that their mom would get sucked up in the rapture if nobody else did. It was like this barometer reading, like this check. I just thought that was kind of funny. But anyways, just like the days of Noah, people made fun of Noah, went about their lives, none the wiser until the flood, right? This idea that we as humans, Peter and Paul talk about this quite a bit too, where at a certain point, they keep saying, I write this to remind you. I'm reminding you. Let me remind you. They talk about these reminders, and I think it's so fascinating because we as humans, if you need no other testament to our sinful nature, I think it's the fact that we look around and we forget about God. We believe that there's a creator. We believe that he's sovereign over the entire universe. And every day we wake up and the first thing that we do when we open our eyes is not to say, "Dear God, creator of the universe, thank you for this day." And I think it's also an interesting thing because I do like Jordan Peterson quite a bit. And one of the videos that people make fun of him for quite a bit these days is the one where he's talking about how he doesn't understand, if you truly believe there's a God of the universe, how you could continue to live your life as if that reality doesn't exist. So how can you live your life ignoring God? How can you live your life forgetting about God? How do you not get crushed under the weight that there's an all-powerful, all-loving, supreme creator of the universe that cares about you? And it is a kind of an intense thing, right? But so again, I apologize because the Olivet Discourse is not my cup of tea. I really don't know what to do about these sections. So that's where I'm gonna leave it at today. And then we have a couple of parables coming up, the parable of the 10 virgins, the parable of the talents. And so I want to go into those separately. But the parables are a little bit easier for me because parables are about, what does this say about the kingdom? What does this tell us about the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven? And we know that because that's what Jesus told us they're about. So that makes it a little bit easier. We can kind of orient those parables about the end times and get little glimpses into what that might actually look like. So we'll jump into that next. But that's all I have for today. Again, I hope this was somewhat helpful. I refuse to skip over part of the Bible. That's why I did this section, even though it is like pulling teeth for me and I feel like an idiot. So there's that. Like and subscribe. Please, dear God, if this is the first video that you have watched, watch another one, please, because this one is a little rough. But anyways, like and subscribe to catch all the videos as they come out. I would like to study the Bible with you and see what you've been up to. Anyways, I will catch you soon in the next video and we'll talk about chapter 25 and some of the parables in there. All right, peace.